What's going on? We got an Xbox Series S with a broken HDMI port. You can see that tab in there is broken. So we're gonna go ahead and get that fixed here today. Alright, so first thing we want to do, there's little stickers that are held on the back here. Just pop those off. And then there's just these two screws. Once those screws are out, this just pops right off. Set that to the side. Alright, now for the screws in here. So I use a T9 bit to take off those two back screws. These four screws here are also T9. The rest of them are T10. So we're going to go ahead and switch that over. And T is like for Torx. So it's this star pattern here. We're taking out all the green screws here. Those are the ones that hold the system to the shell. And once we do that, we pull out on the sides here and then kind of just push down. It just pops right out like that. Okay, so looks like there's some cockroaches, so hopefully they're dead. Guess we'll find out the hard way. Alright, now we're taking out all these screws here. These are the ones that hold the power supply and the fan, all that kind of stuff. So, and the motherboard, holds the motherboard down. All right. So now we're gonna go ahead and take all of these off. And these are just the T9 bit screws. These just pop out. All right, okay. We're gonna take this guy out here too, just pops right out. And we're gonna get the one on the side here. Oops. And that one just pops out as well. Alright, now that we got those out, I'm going to go ahead and take this top shell off. And the fan is going to want to stick in there. This happens quite a bit. Let's see here. See, if you don't take the screws out for the fan, then it's a lot easier. However, every single time I forget. So, there we go. Alright. So now we can take these out. This one's pretty easy to disassemble. We're just going to pull up on the power supply, just pops right out. It's held together with this connector right here. And then for the fan, we're just going to pull up on the fan, move it to the side a little bit, and then just pull the connector out here. Once we have those out, we can go ahead, flip it back over, and take out the T9 that hold the motherboard down right here. Alright, now that we've got those taken out, there's a little piece right here that we need to take off. I just push it forward and then pull straight up. Comes right out. And then in order to get the board out, what I do is sit it on its side And these little rubber feet here, or plastic feet, there's one right there. I guess that's the only one on this one. So I just kind of push on that and then pull on the back side here and then lift straight out. And now we have access to the HDMI port here. So we're gonna go ahead and move over to the rework and soldering station and get that taken care of. Alright, we want to make sure that if we're using like the heat gun, which is what I'm going to use right here, that we take off, there's little foam pads underneath here. We got to make sure that we take those off, because if you start heating that up, it's super toxic. Or you could just wear a respirator, but that's a lot of work. So then I take this one off too, just in case. This one's far enough away that it doesn't really cause any issues. So, but we're gonna go ahead and put some flux on the back of the port here, and then we're gonna put it around the feet and start heating this up until we can get it off. Now, my heat gun is pretty loud, so you're just gonna have to bear with me on that, but it works really well. So just put some flux around here, and that'll all sink down to right where I need it. And as I start to heat this up, what I'll do is I'll take my solder wire here and I'll just put it in the little feet holes, and I'll put like a little layer on the back pins to make sure that nothing breaks on the motherboard, because the solder that they use on this is high temp, and I just want to mix it with my leaded solder so that it's easier to get off and doesn't break anything. Alright, so now it's a little loose. We just want to make sure that we get solder in those feet holes and on the back pins. So we want to make sure that we take it off without breaking anything. Now what I'm going to do is take my soldering iron and just run it across those pins in the back. And it should be good. Just like that. So now I'm going to take all the solder out of those holes. Maybe. Guess I got to clean out my little plunger tool here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to clean that out. It's not wanting to pick the solder up here. Alright, so as you can see, there's a little bit of solder right there left on the pads, which works out just fine. I'll just spread that around those pads. That way that they have my mix of the solder in there, so it's easier to put on and install. And I'm gonna try to take out the solder in these little feet holes here as well, once I clean my plunger up. Alright, now that we got the solder taken out of the feet holes here, well, most of it anyways, looks like there's still some left, but that's alright. I went ahead and pre-tinned those pads back there, so now we're just going to pop the port on, and we're going to use our heat gun again, just heat it up until that solder turns into a liquid. and then should be able to let's see here, get that port stuck down on there. Heat gun here is set for, I have it sitting on 438 degrees Celsius. That's just what I choose to put it on. It's the temperature that works best for me. Looks like that solder is starting to cool up now. We'll just take the heat away, keep pressure on it until you see it cool down a little bit. Now it's stuck on there good. Alright, and now on the back side of the port, we're going to go ahead and put some solder where those holes are. I just put some flux there to help the solder sit in there properly. I've already got this one with some solder in it. Just need to add solder to these ones here. Alright, and then we'll flip it back over. And heat that back up. And what happens is the heat and the air from this gun pushes the solder up, and it will secure the feet in there. Alright, looks like it's getting in there now, so what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and let this cool down and then install it back and test it out. Alright, so there's the new HDMI port on there. Everything's secured in the back. Brand new. We're going to go ahead and install it now that it's cooled down. What you want to do is you want to slide it in from the front. Go ahead and drop it in there. And then just make sure that this little plastic piece right here gets pushed back through on the bottom there. Whew, busy day, hang on. All right. Where was I? Okay, we just installed this in here. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and plug the fan back in. And then just drop that in there. And then, ooh, that power supply is kind of dirty. Well, the fan is too. Oh man, hang on a second. Clean that fan off. All right. Now that we have the fan in there, we can go ahead and pop the power supply in there. So again, this little connector here goes to that slot and it just pops in there, just like so. Now that we have those in there, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and secure the board. Sometimes I test it, sometimes I don't. With something like this, with the Series S, I don't really need to test it. I think I've only been unsuccessful one time in a repair on one of these. So I'm pretty good at fixing the Series S. All right, and now I'm just gonna secure the power supply and the fan there. So these ones are pretty nice because when it comes to testing them, to make sure that it works, you don't have to put any of the screws back in to test it. So you can just pop everything together and put these little plates on here and just test it that way. All right, now we're gonna put the cover back on. We're just gonna pop these pieces back in here. Get those screwed in. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. There we go. You see that? Let me see. Okay, so I got the screws in there. Got all the screws back in. Now we're gonna go ahead and slide it back in here. Then we're gonna drop all the green screws back in. Slide that back on. All right, and good to go.